rhythm of life. The beating of life. Oh, we're live? All right, live in the United Sacrifice Zones. I'll tell you, there's a lot of terrible things to talk about, but driving around the United Corporations of America in October, it's just gorgeous. I wish we could show you the colors of the trees. We have red and orange and maroon and yellow. Oh, it's just an orgasm of beautiful colors all over. Somebody's going to clip that. Somebody's going to create a GIF. Hey, folks. This is Jordan on the road, driving across the United Corporations of America. Where are we now? Ohio? Pennsylvania, excuse me. So we are on the end of our three-state swing state trip. And boy, quite a day today. A lot of excitement. This is why we go on the ground and ask you to help us do it, because we had some moments today with our friends at Norfolk Southern, the multi-billion-dollar railroad company that chemically nuked for no reason other than greed a small town in Ohio and poisoned the whole community in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and God knows how far else. So we'll get into that. Heartbreaking interviews we did in Michigan, in Kalamazoo, another sacrifice zone that we've been covering. That one, Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer is helping to poison. In that case, poor black people. East Palestine is poorer white people. So poverty is the connection there. Wisconsin, how many interviews do we do on Monday? 6?
5, 6. Yeah.
Oh, God. It's exhausting. We crammed in, I think it was 6 interviews on Monday. And then Tuesday, I interviewed did another interview in Wisconsin. Everything I'm referencing, we recorded. So, I do like going live on the road, but for some strange reason, the recorded interviews seem to be doing better than the live interviews. I don't know why, but obviously the goal is to get the most eyeballs. So, some of them we'd go live, a lot of them we've recorded, but Monday, from the one socialist in Wisconsin, not the one socialist, the one elected socialist in Wisconsin we interviewed. He was great. Then we interviewed some activists on the ground, black activists, white activists, to kind of get a pulse for the election, as well as what else is going on. And I got to tell you, if you folks gave me the resources, Johnny boy, I really think we got to do a real-time documentary on economic terrorism, on gentrification. Everywhere we go, it's the same thing. 10 blocks have been beautified in major cities. Real estate developers get the keys to the city. They can do whatever the fuck they want. Restaurants, bars, luxury hotels, skyscrapers, sporting stadiums. And the locals who grew up in these places can't afford to go to any of them. And the locals are being pushed out. And you drive around the 5-10 blocks. I'm not going to lie, it's great. We've gone to bars, restaurants, all in these areas. But then we drive out. In some cases, you could drive 5 minutes out of downtown, and it looks like a fucking war-torn country. So if we ever get the resources, that would probably take a few months. I don't know if my wife would be so happy with that. But anyway, so between Pennsylvania, where we started this trip, Jason Peters, independent reporter, did great work for us. We still have interviews from him to post. Michigan, we still have interviews from me to post. Wisconsin, we got a lot of stuff. And then today, I said to John this morning, John, we have 2 choices. We could drive straight through. It would take us from where we slept last night, 7.5 hours. We could drive straight through home, or I could be a good person and stop in East Palestine. I got to be honest with you. I'm exhausted. I have a pinched nerve in my shoulder that's going into my arm. So I kind of wanted to get home because I need to see a chiropractor to fix whatever the fuck is pressing on my nerve. John would not even elbow my shoulder in a non-inappropriate way. I just asked for him to elbow my shoulder to get the fucking knot out, but won't do it.
I did bring you ice.
You did bring me ice. That's true. You did bring me ice. But you know what else bothers me about John? I said this to him. So I sleep with one of those god-awful masks, the CPAP for sleep apnea. And a couple times I just fell asleep in bed before putting the mask on. I mean, if you have apnea, you could die. Well, not die, but you know, you're not breathing. You stop breathing for several seconds, and I wake up at 1, 2 in the morning without my mask, without the CPAP. I said to him, "Why don't you fucking wake me up? I'm sitting here not breathing." And he's like, "Yeah, you were snoring pretty loudly." It's like, no shit. Wake me up. Tell me, put on your mask. Anyway, I said, let's go to East Palestine because it's on the way back, and we want to stay on this story. So, boy, I must have told one of the activists there, "Hey, I'm going to be in town in 2.5 hours." We get there, she lined up like the whole town. So we interviewed 7 or 8 people. I went in her house. It smells like a goddamn chemical petri dish. Yet the EPA, the city, the state, everything's fine. Nothing to see here. And why it's important that we go on the ground, I'm going to get into this more later. I found something out. The activists, that is a major, major story. And I tell you, 95% of the investigative stories I've broken have been from stuff I learned being on the ground. Because there's no, something that a resident or an activist, because they're not they're not journalists, so something that happened that they might not think is a big deal, but actually is a big deal. So they tell you these things. And one of the activists told me something and also played an audio conversation for me of her with an EPA official. I can't go into details, but boy, did this EPA official say some shit that kind of makes you think we've been right all along. Did you hear that? That EPA official, what he said?
Yep.
That EPA official is on tape saying some pretty, I think, incriminating things. So I look forward to getting that recording from that activist. But you know what? I said on the way to interview the activist, we passed a mighty fine-looking building with Norfolk Southern's logo, right down the block from where they sacrificed the town. It's right down the block from the derailment. So I said, let's go visit our friends. I knew what was going to happen. They weren't going to talk to us. John wanted to go in there like Rambo with the camera. I said, if we go in with the camera, the police will be there in 2 seconds. So I said, let's just, go in. I had the microphone on under my jacket, had our phones recording. And boy, I would say we ambushed. It was an ambush. And boy, did they not treat me nicely. Did they treat me pretty poorly? And I don't want to give it all away because we're going to put it into a video. But this guy, I don't know how these people sleep at night. I really don't. But he tried to get rid of me pretty much within 10 seconds after I said I'm a journalist. And then he kind of slammed the door, but I put my foot in the door so he couldn't close the door. And I just went through the list. I'll get all the way. But I went through the list of everything I just heard. All the health problems from residents I just heard, including 8-year-old girls getting their periods. Let me repeat. 8-year-old girls getting their period. Now, I'm not a gynecologist, but I'm pretty sure that's not the usual time for a young girl to be getting their first cycles. And it's not just this one girl. We're hearing from residents that this is happening for children in the area, early puberty, not just in girls, boys all of a sudden, like under 10, hairy as a goddamn monkey. And when I said the thing about the 8-year-old girl, I kind of saw like a twinkle in his eye, like there was like an ounce of humanity. I mean, this was a 30-something-year-old Norfolk Southern guy, probably making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to lie to the people that they poisoned. But I saw a twinkle of humanity in his eye. I cannot wait to get this video out. We just gotta, it's audio, and we gotta put some things together and make sure the audio is good. What were your thoughts during that little ambush, Johnny?
It's just typical of them to pass you along to somebody else for them to spectate.
Was it interesting? Go into this place, there's no one there. It's just him. It's remarkable. But I got to tell you, I mean, you guys might think I'm saying these things in jest or to be cute, but place after place, I mean, we're becoming a country of just isolated sacrifice zones.
Hold on one second.
The more places we go, we're really just becoming a country of more and more sacrifice zones. And, you know, when I first started doing this nearly a decade ago, I thought, you know, because a lot of this I was learning for the first time by going around the country, but I really thought it was isolated to a couple of areas. Well, almost 10 years later, no. I mean, I'm losing hands and toes to name the amount of communities that are being poisoned, and then the government either being poisoned directly by the government or being poisoned by corporate America with the help of the government. We just interviewed in Kalamazoo a mother named Deanne. She lives a block away from a packaging company that a lot of people think does good stuff because it's a packaging company that recycles paperboard, like cardboard. And people buy bonds in that company because, oh, they're recycling. Well, they might be recycling, but as they recycle, they're releasing toxic levels of gas into a poor black community, and people are literally dying. This mother, I almost cried. She's lost a 17-year-old daughter who had severe asthma to the point where one of her asthma attacks, she died. Perfectly healthy before they moved a block away from this plant. She's lost a 32-year-old son, died this year. By the end, was on oxygen 24/7. There has been, the state of Michigan Environmental Department has issued several violations for this plant for releasing toxic levels of gas. The state of Michigan came out with a health study that they dragged their feet on for 3 years. And the health study they released found that this paper mill was releasing toxic levels of gas. The health study didn't look at all the gases they're releasing. They only looked at a few things. So I don't even think it was that thorough. And their answer to the residents, yeah, if it's really bad, close your windows and stay inside. Think they would tell people in Ann Arbor that? The wealthy white part of Michigan? Think they would tell, I don't know, the people in downtown Cleveland or Detroit or Milwaukee, or name your gentrified downtown area where real estate developers live or fund? You think they close your windows, stay inside? Or you think they would do something about it? This poor woman has lost a son, a daughter, and her living daughter is also very sick and having to go to the hospital twice a week sometimes for breathing treatments because of the asthma. And before you say, well, why don't they move? You want to pay for them to move? They're poor. They can't move. Just like the people who were poisoned in Flint are poor and can't move. And some people don't want to move because it's where they're from and it's part of who they are. They want it to be made right by the government. A lot of the people we're talking to in East Palestine and Pennsylvania, they want to move. They don't have any money to move. Their house, the property value on their house, they would probably lose half of what they bought it for. Because in all these situations, the home values dive. Meanwhile, you got multi-billion-dollar railroad companies that literally chemically nuked, just said, it's the Rust Belt. It's flyover country. Who gives a shit? Blow up the cars. We can't have the rail line closed. We'll lose too much money. Just blow up these trains. We'll throw some PR into it. We'll put $20 million into a state park. Pay for some Easter egg hunts. Pay for some barbecues. We'll put tens of millions of dollars in public relations out there to make it look like we're doing something. Meanwhile, today, we're interviewing people who have lost their hair. We're interviewing people who are pooping blood. We're interviewing a father who is healthy and all of a sudden is having major heart problems. We're interviewing a father whose 8-year-old daughter is having her period at 8 years old. And she's not the only one. Other kids, similar story. We're interviewing people with full body tingling. We're interviewing people whose homes smell like a fucking chemical bath. I walked into Ashley's house. I lasted about a minute before I walked out. I had a headache within a minute. And meanwhile, what are we getting in our emails? What are we getting on television? Democracy. Oh my God, democracy's on the line. Well, I would say democracy is under the line. I think democracy is like one of those hospital patients with the fleeting heartbeat. We don't have a fucking democracy. We have a goddamn corporate oligarchy that's making community sacrifice zones. And if you're poor or you're the wrong skin color, you're shit out of luck. It's just, I kind of ping pong around. I go between anger and depression when I'm on these road trips. With that said, we got some great leads on the road to break some stories. Like I said, in East Palestine in particular, I think we're going to have a story for you. Well, besides the Norfolk Southern ambush, which get your popcorn ready because that's going to be a fun video. I also said that, what did I say to you when we were driving out of the Norfolk Southern?
What, that they're probably going to be...
Yeah, make sure they're not taking pictures of our license plate because, before you know it, some unmarked cars following you all the way home. But, yeah, we wanted to kind of do a road trip recap. We've been on the road. John, you've been on the road for
Since
9 or 10 days. I've been on the road for 7. We're headed back. We have a ton of great content to release, but we wanted to kind of do a recap, preferably get your support. This costs a lot of money, this trip. By the end of it, once we crunch the numbers, my guess is it's probably going to be around $4,000. So we appreciate those of you who have donated. For those of you who haven't, please do. We need help to do this kind of reporting. And I'll say this humbly, but I'll say it loudly. There is no one else doing this. Aside from some documentary filmmakers that focus on one or a specific story, in real-time news, there is no outlet doing this. Certainly not in the mainstream media, and definitely not in the independent media. There's a lot of reasons they're not doing it, but one of those reasons is it's very, very expensive to do this kind of reporting. And there's not an immediate payoff. Sometimes there is no payoff ever. When I say payoff, I mean like clicks and, growing your YouTube. And I mean, this has been slow over 6 years and we're finally growing a little faster, but, it's very expensive to do this. And, you don't get on Joe Rogan doing this kind of work, sadly. You don't get on, 60 Minutes. You don't get, multi-million-dollar book deals. You don't get, lucrative podcast deals. This is, you work for the people, really. So please support us if you can. Super chats are appreciated. We'll read them at the end. Donations are very appreciated, small and big, and become a member. StatusCoup.com/join. That's, if you say, Jordan, what do you want me to do? Membership or donation? Become a member so we have stable revenue. You can become a monthly member for as low as $5 a month. With that said, let's go through some of the stuff we've done on this trip. We might have a little delay because of technology, but we want to play some of the clips for you and then react. Colin, in whatever order you got them.
Probably 2 years ago, we had a meeting with the Speaker of the House. And I kind of lost it in that meeting. Craig figured, all right, here comes
Brian Cutler when he was
here come the security guards. We're going to get dragged out of here.
Yeah.
Because I sat there and looked at the Speaker of the House now. I go, I got a fucking bone to pick with you. Craig's like, all right, here we go. We're going to get dragged out of here now. All right. And I kind of went off on a hoot on him about lobbying. Okay. So lobbying should be illegal. It shouldn't even be in this freaking building. All right. He goes, Mr. Kevin, please calm down. I mean, I was getting pretty irate. All right. He goes, you're right, Lo. The lobbyists outnumber us 3-1. This is the Speaker of the House now in Harrisburg.
Republican.
Okay. 3-1. Okay. They outnumber our politicians. So you have this many lobbyists in that building spending hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, or whatever the hell they're spending onto it, to overturn our politicians, to change the fucking laws, so they can do whatever they fucking want, and we have no rights whatsoever. That isn't what you were voted in office for in the first goddamn place. We vote you in office to do your fucking job. Not see how much money you put in your fucking pocket from the industry.
My dad had a
or any other corporation. I don't care. Mm-hmm. But right now, the biggest corporation fucking around here right now is them.
Elected officials. Nobody can buy my elected official because we already bought them. When you vote for them and you pay their salary, they can't get bought.
Yeah.
If anybody is influenced,
it's just water people.
If anybody's influenced their decisions, it's being done against their oath of office. Because their oath of office, my dad was a big Constitution guy. That's why idiot carries the rule book, right? That's the U.S. Constitution. If you don't know it, the Pennsylvania Constitution, Article 1, Section 27, clearly states we have a right as Pennsylvania citizens to clean air and clean water. It's stated in it. Since 1971, 53 years, it's been.
Done. So, sorry if there's a delay. We're trying to watch the clip in real time on John's phone, but then connection goes in and out. But that was Jason Peters in Dii, Pennsylvania. I think it's kind of fucked up when television pundits and reporters and election experts say, this whole election is going to come down to the state of Pennsylvania for a variety of reasons in the Electoral College between Trump and Harris. Whoever wins Pennsylvania, they say, is likely to win the presidency. Well, if that's the case, shouldn't, I don't know, a small town in Pennsylvania that has had poisoned water for 14 years kind of be a story? Am I old-fashioned, John? 14 years this place has had poisoned water because of big oil, and it's not in the news. It's never even mentioned when Pennsylvania is mentioned in the election. Kamala Harris, she's going around Pennsylvania. Not a word. Donald Trump, when he's not threatening to unleash the military on leftists, he just did that the other day. I might have to release the military or the National Guard on the radical left. He's not talking about Dii, Pennsylvania. I don't even see any reporters covering the fact that this place has poisoned water 14 years later. Remember There's all the buzz that Harris might choose Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. Well, according to these fine fellows that Jason interviewed, Joshua Shapiro fed them a bunch of bullshit about finally giving them clean water after the fossil fuckers fracked on their land and poisoned their water due to fracking. You remember Josh Fox's documentary Gasland, where they literally lit the tap water on fire? They turned on the tap, put a lighter there, and it burst into flames? That's that town. Dii, Pennsylvania. As far I don't know, whole communities, water being poisoned for a decade and a half. It's just crazy. I wasn't there. You were there with Jason. It's just amazing to me that these activists who live there have been fighting into basically an empty void for so long. It's just disgusting. So I'm glad we were able to cover that. I'd say we'd stay on it, but honestly, I'm running out of me. I don't know how else to say it. I would desperately love to hire another reporter, because I was talking to John, like, if you saw my email every day, you would throw up. I have so many people emailing me, activists. I actually got snippy with a lady. If you're watching, I wasn't happy with you, Carol. I'll give you a little behind the scenes. A nice woman named Carol, I'm sure she meant well. She emails me this long thing about how I was derelict in my duties for interviewing a woman in North Carolina about Hurricane Helene. This woman lived an hour away from Asheville, where obviously Hurricane Helene put Asheville underwater. And she had a problem that I interviewed this woman, and I should have done better vetting. By the way, I'm getting these emails while we're driving around 6 hours a day, doing work no one else is doing. So maybe think before you email. I could take criticism, but, you know, why don't you go complain to the corporate media, who's not even covering the fact that all this shit is happening because the fossil fuckers are destroying the planet. Anyway, says this long email, I'm derelict, I didn't vet this person, and I could have gotten all these other groups and experts. So I wrote back, I'm only one person, and I'm trying to, I just released a book, so that's a full-time job that I'm still promoting the book. We the Poisoned. If you haven't got it, please get it. Exposing the Flint water cover-up. So that's a full-time job. I've had, like, for the last couple of weeks, 2 or 3 interviews a day. On top of, I'm following up more investigative reporting on Flint. And I'm trying to cover East Palestine. And I'm trying to cover Kalamazoo. And I'm trying to cover Conyers, Georgia, which was just had a chemical inferno due to a chemical plant being on fire. And I have all sorts of people messaging me about that. Oh, by the way, I have a 2-year-old daughter. Well, almost 2. And I'm trying to also churn out videos and go live every day. So unless you, Carol, and I'm not trying to pick on you, but it was you who emailed me, unless you want to write me a check, I need about $200,000 to hire another reporter, another producer, another cameraman at a decent living wage, pay John more, pay Colin more, pay myself more, so we can have somewhat of a staff here to help me. By the way, there was nothing wrong with the woman I interviewed. I mean, she lived an hour away. She was volunteering on the ground. But the Cliff Notes version, I said, I don't have the bandwidth or the resources to thoroughly vet before every interview. I mean, obviously I am interviewing people who I trust are not phonies or fakes or whatever, but I don't have all day to research something because I'm juggling 20 stories at once, and I have 20 people emailing me at a time. And I'm not complaining because I understand that residents desperately need help and they're going to contact journalists who might cover it. But again, I'm only one person. So before you send me an email, I could take criticism, but within reason. I mean, I'm on the road breaking my back, literally breaking my back, and I'm getting email. You didn't vet this person enough. I mean, have a little, have a little self-awareness. That's all. Anyway, moving on. In addition to that clip, we've covered a lot of other things in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Let's go to a second one. And I'm hearing a lot of people are kind of just done with both parties.
That's right.
Exactly. Yeah, because it appears that the corporation is running both parties. So I don't know. But I do feel that under the Democrats, we are seeing less representative. We got more poverty. We got more crime and drug inflicted communities. Our schools are being raped. Children are being pimped. It's sad,
So do you feel that in a way, it's not necessarily you think Republicans would be much better, but if this is happening under Democrats, then people either don't vote or just say.
How do you get independent enough to wake up the people to start a party that's going to work for the people and not the corporations? Because right now, to me, they the same bird, the same feather, the same plane.
Mm-hmm. The right, the left, but the same bird.
And have you seen media report on the other options, the third-party candidates like Jill Stein, who talks about a lot of these things? You don't really hear that there are other options in the media.
All right. Well, that's because they are not, they don't get it out on the stations that people mostly look at, so I don't know. I just feel sometimes that I'm in a no-win situation, but I know that it's not going to get any better under the Democrats because we've been had them for 20-something years. And I haven't seen anything. I lived through Right to Work. I done lived through the riot. I done lived through all of the police brutality in the city of Detroit. And all of this was under Democrats, so.
So are you feeling for yourself that you would consider Trump or?
I would consider.
And if you have the choice of the lesser evil, to me, evil is evil. So what? You're going to like this poison? It's a little stronger than the other poison.
Right.
Really? That's our choice now.
We're back. Clip done, he texted me. So those fine women, they are lifetime Detroit residents and lifetime Democratic Party supporters. And I got to tell you, before, because I get some messages, Jordan, are you trying to help Trump? Are you trying to help Trump? John, did we not go in there thinking these were Harris supporters? Because it was a National Action Network event. National Action Network is Al Sharpton's group. Not a big fan of him. So I'm assuming walking into this very famous church, the King Solomon Church, historic King Solomon Church. It's a National Action Network rally. I see Kamala Harris signs. I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to be talking to some true believers. And let me, talk to them and kind of get a feel for why they're supporting her, etc. I assumed that that's what they were. And pretty quickly, I could just feel at least 2 out of the 3 women I spoke with, because the third just said, Trump's an asshole, don't vote for him. They're desperate. And they've reached the point that a lot of you watching have reached of fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I forget how it goes. But this is like, fool me 20 times, fool me 30 years. What's this guy doing? Oh boy. Probably got a trucker that shouldn't be on the road in front of us. You know, these are lifetime Democrats that have not just voted, I mean, done the door knocking for local candidates, done the door knocking for state candidates, done the door knocking for federal candidates, done the phone banking, gone to the rallies, gone to the, you know, local Democratic Party meetings, you know, given the benefit of the doubt. If it was Gretchen Whitmer or Joe Biden or whatever, because they wanted to stop Trump, whether it was in 2016 or 2020. But, you know, we have more that we're going to post from them. I mean, they came with signs about the gentrification scams going on in Detroit. And it's Democratic politicians. It's the mayor is a Democrat, city council members are a Democrat. And after a while, you just... I was very, I wouldn't say surprised, but I was very, yeah, I guess surprised by their reaction. And I think those two women are very representative for a lot of black population in Detroit. You're hearing black men are kind of gravitating a little more to Trump, which could make the difference in a state like Michigan. But I don't think it's just black men. And black women are the bedrock of the Democratic Party for forever. Black women were the most reliable voter. We're off. Sorry, we're driving through Pennsylvania. Some sections are spottier than others. But forever, the black women have been the most consistent, loyal voter for the Democratic Party. So to be meeting two older black women that are kind of at their breaking point with voting for Democrats is very illuminating. Does that mean Trump's going to win Michigan? Not necessarily, but I think it's bigger than the election. I think the question is, when do the masses reach their breaking point where this constant messaging and this constant gaslighting that this is the most important election of our lifetime and democracy is on the line, and, you know, when do the masses say, enough, we're going to go a different way? Whether that's a third party or more direct organizing in terms of general strikes, I don't know. But I've been doing this, I've been on the ground for 8 years, and I'm starting to see a real pivot away from, I wouldn't say totally away from the two-party system, but real cracks in the armor against the two-party system. So that clip was very, very illuminating. Before we go further, are we getting any questions, comments, super chats, concerns?
We did get some super chats, but I think Colin will...
Okay. Got it. Look at these beautiful fall colors. I don't know if they'll be able to see it through the window, but it is beautiful. It's such a beautiful country that it's a shame so much of it is getting poisoned. Look at those colors. Red, maroon, yellow, green. Oh, Just makes me want some pumpkin pie. So those are the ladies in Detroit. I guess, smash the like button, by the way. I guess we'll go play another clip from Colin.
And these people, they're loyal people. They want to retire from here. They want to make a good living, and they want this place to exceed. Some of these people are like second generation, and they have kids that are coming into this place too. So there's some people that have like 3 generations in this place. My dad worked here, and he's got 4. My gosh, see? And he cares about this place. That's why
you've had in your family 4 generations?
4 generations in here. My grandmother lived down the road. I've watched this building change over the years. I've always wanted to be in here. When I finally get in here, and then it was great. And then all of a sudden, in the last few years, it's just been take. And I'm like, wow, I never thought that actually happened.
That was a source of pride in your family to work here.
Yeah. Yep. It was a big source.
It's a family-oriented shop.
Yes,
I have 8 members of family that work here. I mean, my uncles, my cousins, everybody all work here. And that's a lot of people that work in here. Numerous family members work here. And that's what we were told, is this is a place you come to finish your career, your retirement. So then when you want to take the retirement away and then not keep you up with wages, then you don't want to look somewhere else. You made the decision to come here and stay here.
Right.
So
in a way, they're just crapping on your family. That's what it seems like to me.
I mean, like I said, eight family members that work here all have families. Aging from 23 is my youngest cousin that works here. And then I have my uncles and aunts that are in their 50s. So their kids work here. We go to family get-togethers. It's most of the thing you talk about. Hey, what happened? Well, we're all at work. So, and if you work an off shift, you don't really have much of a family life. When you work, sleep, come back.
Meanwhile, they're sending you emails about how wonderful they're doing, but you're forced to stand out in the rain.
We're not asking for too much, just something to stay afloat with everybody else. Right. They ask for 70% for other places, 40%. We're not even getting 20. And I'm not sure what the number of inflation is, but I'm sure what we're getting is not close to that number. So is it really too much to ask for? That's the biggest thing. Everything goes up, our pay stays the same.
Done. All right. So that was us in Jackson, Michigan. I guess today would be day 32 of that strike. Those are aerospace workers, UAW members, that have been on strike in Michigan for 32 days. Once again, do you hear that in the national media? That there's a worker strike for over a month now? Is it even discussed as an issue in Michigan? It's just baffling. But different city, same story. Not the auto workers. These are aerospace workers. They make parts for airplanes. But boy, talking to those workers, you could really feel the pain and sense of betrayal from the company. Some of them, have 4 generations in their families have worked for Eaton Aerospace. One of them I spoke with has currently 8 family members that work there. And they were basically offered a contract 16% increase over 4 years in their wages. Barely meets inflation. Oh, by the way, we're going to cut your pension too. New hires, you're not getting a pension. Workers that have worked there for...
Although they do put it on the, when you want to sign up to get employed.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that
yeah.
they put in
So
there.
it's false advertising too. Right. As they're posting job openings there, they're posting pension while they're literally cutting workers' pension. I mean, only in America. And we have no government penalties to any of this. None. Maybe a fine. That's it. But talking to these workers, it's just, there's different kinds of sacrifice zones, right? You got the environmental sacrifice zones, which are happening everywhere, and we're trying to cover as much as we can. And then you just have corporate sacrifice zones, which is the entire country. But talking to these workers, being on the picket line always kind of rejuvenates me, I guess. I don't like that these workers have to do this, but I like the camaraderie. I like the fighting spirit. It's just unfortunate that it's not getting a lot of attention. Obviously, the auto workers strike got a lot of attention, but there's other strikes going on, and we need more of it. Because really, sadly, labor is really the only power workers have nowadays, is unions. And it's not a lot of power, but it's something. It's some way to fight back. It's some way to use your leverage. It's some way to stop the corporate rape. Corporations are raping the people. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. But talking to these workers, and this is a conservative area. I think from what I was told, most of them, it was the first, it was the home of the Republican Party. Jackson, Michigan, apparently. I didn't know that. But this is a bipartisan issue. I mean, obviously Republicans are not friends of labor, but Democrats have helped take a battering ram to labor while pretending to be friends of labor. Democrats helped push NAFTA. Hillary and Obama tried to push the TPP and are allowing these corporations to, basically exploit and oppress their workers. And it's also the little things that these workers said to me that really is infuriating. I mean, it's already infuriating that you're offering them very little in terms of raises. At the same time, you're sending out press releases and emails about how your company has record profits. So clearly, they're not interested in sharing those profits equitably. But it's also the little things like they don't do the holiday parties anymore for the workers. They don't do the little things that they used to do for workers to show a little appreciation. I guess that's too much to, show workers that you appreciate them digging themselves into an early grave because this is hard labor they do.
Yeah, they wouldn't have the profits if they weren't for the people.
Exactly.
The workers.
It's disgusting. So we covered that strike, and we also spoke with a worker from Stellantis, which is one of the big three auto companies, because Stellantis is already breaking the historic contract that UAW won from them last year. They're already breaking it. They're not reopening a major plant in Belvidere, Illinois. They're laying off thousands of workers in Michigan. So I talked to that Stellantis worker about their UAW might go on strike again. Honestly, John, I am going to brag for a moment. I think in 10 days we've covered more than most media cover in a year. I really think in 10 days we've covered more because most national media cover the same two stories on a loop all day long, aside from breaking news, like if there's a mass shooting or something like that. But most media covers the same exact two stories, themes, the polls, the horse race. They put pundits on. They're not like going out if something's not breaking. They're not investigating anything. They're not talking to people. We covered so many different stories in 10 days, and a lot of it was on the fly. I mean, I don't have a producer to mainstream outlets. You'll do some scouting, and producers will start planning if they even do trips like this, which they don't really do anymore. They'll start planning and trying to book stories and guests, weeks in advance. They'll scout locations. They'll go out beforehand, before the interview to find a location. I'm literally in one interview, texting and calling to try and set up another. It's just crazy. I got to tell you, I really could use a vacation. I really could. This is not to brag. I'm just fucking burnt out, man. My favorite moment, other than playing with my daughter when I get home, my favorite moment on these trips is getting back to the hotel, laying in bed at 8 o'clock at night with an ice pack on my shoulder and doing nothing. Because I've basically worked 15 hours before that. Oh, maybe with a cocktail in my hand. I don't know. All right, we'll play one more clip. Colin, whatever you got.
How is we going to go inside and close our doors? We supposed to be able to come out into the community, take a breath of fresh air, and continue living our life. But we can't do that over here. And once again, like I say, don't nobody care. I done lost 2 kids now, and I just feel numb inside. A lot of people tell me, you're a strong woman. But every day, y'all just don't know how bad I really want to give up. To lose 2 kids, a mother should never have to lose 2 kids like this.
I guess you kind of feel like a part of you is gone.
Yeah, a large chunk of me is gone. Like I say, I really feel empty inside. Especially DeAndre. DeAndre was my first child. He been with me a long, long time. And then to wake up like he did, he was so happy that morning. He took his medicine. He was telling jokes. Then 10 minutes later, he just passed out. Then it was the last words I ever heard most of her say. But every morning, he always started off screaming as loud as he can, which it wasn't really loud. The house be so quiet. He said, "Mama, I love you. No matter what happens to me, Mama, please don't stop fighting for us. I just miss my son."
Done. Okay. That story, honestly, all I could say is people like Deanne is why we exist. It's why we do it. There is zero doubt in my mind that her daughter, her 17-year-old daughter who died, would be alive today if they didn't live near that plant. There's zero doubt in my mind that her 32-year-old son would be alive today if they didn't live near that plant. And there's zero doubt in my mind that the politicians and corporation know that they're sickening the community and have just decided it's okay because they're poor and black. I mean, really, that's what this comes down to. You don't, this is not opinion. Every time I go there, the first time I went there, the smell was worse. I had a headache. Colin had a headache. Colin had a headache for like a week. I had my eyes burnt. This was standing away from the plant, like a block away from the plant. Residents all over the community have health problems, very high asthma rates, very high COPD. There's a school very close to the plant where they don't let kids out for recess. There's a daycare close to that. And this plant was, for some reason that boggles the mind, Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who, if you've been paying attention, was being rumored about replacing Biden as the presidential nominee. The media loves Gretchen Whitmer. You know, she has that folksy talk. Governor Gretchen Whitmer's administration helped this plant expand in 2022. They approved a $125 million bond deal to allow this plant that Michigan's own environmental department issued repeated violations for odor. Michigan's own health department has released a study finding that they are releasing excess levels of hydrogen sulfide, which is linked to respiratory issues, eye irritation, etc. And instead of shutting the plant down, the health department said to the residents, yeah, close your windows and stay inside when it gets bad. What? Do these people live in America? Close your windows and stay inside? So, also known as be a prisoner in your own community. And by the way, pay your taxes and obey the law. What kind of crazy dystopian horror show is going on in America right now? And this is a Democrat. And we're told this is the party of the working people? This is the lesser of two evils? Well, it sure sounds to me that the lesser of two evils is still killing people. You can't, and the people saying, hey, Jordan, stop this, but Trump, go to Kalamazoo. Go stand near the plant and say that. Go to Flint and say
What's that? Okay, we're back.
God, I don't know how much of that you heard because I was on a roll. Sorry, we're going in and out because certain parts of Pennsylvania, the connection sucks. Yeah, I don't know. I'm never surprised when I'm on the road, but I got to tell you, I'm just dumbfounded if there's a difference. I'm dumbfounded how this stuff could be going on in a civilized country. I'm dumbfounded how this stuff could go on in a representative democracy. I'm dumbfounded how government officials and corporations can knowingly be gassing this community. And by the way, it's not only the poor black community now. They are experiencing it the worst because they're right next to the plant. But after this plant expanded in 2022, and with that expansion is releasing a ton more toxic chemicals, it's now spreading to the white community on the west side. So I interviewed a bunch of white folks, same day I interviewed Deanne, and they're telling me they have headaches. It's just how this stuff is happening in broad daylight. The media doesn't give a shit. Frankly, the media is covering it up. The media knows about this. They're covering it up. Governor Whitmer has not responded to my emails. Not like I don't have her personal, but I've emailed her office many times about this. Doesn't respond. From what I was told, other Michigan reporters reached out to her. She doesn't respond. Yet they don't write about it. They don't report on it. They don't go knock on Deanne's door. I asked Deanne, is anyone else covering this? She said it's just us and one other reporter.
I mean, that's the only way these corporations and politicians get away with this, because the media ignores it or helps cover it up. And this way people can't get outraged.
Why do you think I named this Status Coup, John?
Right.
We need to have a journalistic coup d'etat of the status quo, and the media is in on it. Honestly, which I don't. If I had the resources, I would create an anonymous hotline, an anonymous way for journalists at local media, journalists at national media, to send us, expose the dirt, tell us stories of your executive producers or your news directors killing important stories or refusing to send you out important, because I've heard it from local reporters. I've heard it that they are being blocked from covering these types of, that's why it's so liberating that my own boss is you, the audience. I don't have a corporate boss, so I could cover whatever the fuck I want. And most of what I cover is not going to go viral, but I sleep better at night knowing that what we're doing matters. But I would love to create some type of hotline or anonymous way for reporters who want to keep their jobs to expose what their outlets are doing, but more importantly, not doing, and the reasons for not covering these things. In a lot of cases, it has to do with corporate advertisers, corporations that own the company, the news outlets. I mean, in my book, We the Poison, I exposed that the local ABC station in Flint literally killed a story 6 months after the water switch. They had documents showing that the local hospital in Flint had a major Legionnaires outbreak, which was the waterborne bacteria that was created as a result of switching to the Flint River. They had the evidence that there was a Legionnaires outbreak, which would have basically ended the Flint water crisis right then and there, 6 months after the water switch. A reporter started working on the story. Mysteriously, it was killed. She was told to stop working on it. I've reached out to that news outlet many times to ask why. No response. I just happened to see that the local hospital that had the bacterial outbreak just happens to be one of their biggest advertisers. Isn't that interesting? I mean, this is beyond sociopaths all over the country. Government sociopaths, corporate sociopaths, journalist sociopaths. I don't even know. What's the difference in a sociopath and a psychopath? Maybe it's psychopaths. It's just crazy. God, if only we had the money to hire another reporter. If only we had the money I want a documentary crew to follow us around the country so we could cover stuff in real time, but then make it into documentaries. Because so much shit happens on the road that you do not see. I'd say most of what happens on the road you do not see. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. I think that's the end of the clip portion of the program. Now let's talk to the people. I don't know if we have a decent audience, but I appreciate any super chats. I very much appreciate people who sign up as members. StatusCoup.com/join. Listen, short of me selling out, the only way we're going to be able to afford another reporter at some point, a producer at some point, is we got to build up our paying members. So StatusCoup.com/join. unless you think your $5-10 a month is better spent elsewhere, but I don't know any other journalistic outlet in America doing what we're doing. And I'm going to be honest, there's only so much more we could do it at this rate with only 3 people. It's just myself, John, Colin, and it's a lot. It's too much, to be honest. I mean, I'm burnt the fuck out. And the thing is, like, when these trips end, it's not like I get to take off a couple days. I'm then working on the follow-up. So posting the videos, working with Colin to produce the videos, tweeting out, putting out the videos on social media, sending the videos to other media to try to get them pick it up. So it's not like you go on the road for, a week and then you take a breath. I wish, but that's not the case. What do we got?
All right, $5, Chris Garrett. Thank you. Thank you, Jordan, John, and Colin, for getting out there and bringing back the stories that we'll never hear from corporate media news.
Chris Garrett, OG. Thank you, Chris. Spread the coup. Spread the coup.
We got $10 from CB. Keep it up, Jordan and team. This is just the beginning. You guys have come very far, and this is just the beginning. The good guys always win. You are planting seeds every day.
We've only just begun. Thank you, CB. Unfortunately, the good guys rarely win. But I think we win. I think we win by staying on air. I think we win by staying out there. I think we win every time we get a resident or community member or activist voice and story out there. We may not be changing the world. We may not be solving the climate inferno. We may not yet been able to put any corrupt fuckers in jail, but we are, I believe, helping to give the microphone back to the people. And I think that's a win every day we do it.
Another $5 from CB on behalf of Carol, your friend Carol.
Oh, is that Carol?
No, well, CB sent $5 on behalf of Carol.
Yeah, sorry, Carol, if I was too harsh on you. Your email caught me, I think, at a bad time. Probably 15 hours into my day of work. And, I don't think, I get a lot of emails from people, and some of them are very nice and some of them are not. But, I think people just, how would people know? They don't see everything we're doing. So I don't really think people really get how much, to be honest with you, and this is not, I don't say this to toot my horn. I'm telling you so you know. What I do, typically you would have 4 or 5 people doing everything I'm doing. John, I would say you'd probably have 2 or 3 people doing what you're doing on the road. So when you're forced financially, because we don't take corporate money, we don't have a massive investor, when you're forced to do everything that normally you'd have many more people doing, we're only humans, so you get exhausted physically and mentally. So sometimes I just want people to know that, because, of course, everything could be done better. I mean, videos could be made more polished. Live streams could be made better. Tech could be made better. But there's a reason why CNN looks the way it does. There's a reason why, larger outlets, websites look as nice as they do. There's a reason they have apps and full customer support. Because they're owned by corporations with billions of dollars, and we're not. But I think our product's much better, frankly. So.
And we get to keep our integrity.
Keeping your integrity is priceless. So sorry, Carol, if I got up in your business.
Let's see. We also have donations: $16 from James.
Thank you, James.
$10 from Tracy. Please help. I would love to be a reporter. I will help any way I can.
Thank you, Tracy. I do get those emails too. Listen, I was a young whippersnapper once. Some of you might be old whippersnappers. I would very much love to bring in people that have aspirations to be a reporter. But here's the problem with that. And I'm just being completely open. I'm breaking down as it is, so I don't really have the bandwidth to mentor someone at the moment. I need people that have experience already in this. I need people that I don't have to hold their hand necessarily. I need people that I could send out on a reporting trip. Not that I wouldn't have to help a little bit, but I need people that know how to interview. I need people who know how to investigate something. I need people who know how to break a story. I need people who know how to build sources. And, that stuff, you got to learn it. So it's not that I wouldn't bring in somebody that is a little more raw. And, Lewis, for example, he had never been a reporter. I brought Lewis on to do make TikTok videos for us. And it just so happened that he, the Uvalde massacre happened and he was close enough. So he drove down there and did some interviews for us. I said, oh, he's pretty good. And we went from there. And I gave him a lot of pointers on camera. And God bless him. I had to rewrite a lot of his articles. Not because he's stupid, but because he didn't have experience in this. And, the way he wrote was more for a college assignment. And it's not because he was bad. It's just that I had to do more. And then he really came into his own on camera. And as he went, I had to do less and less, pointing things out to him or giving him notes because he was just getting it. But I don't have the band. We took on an intern once and it ended up being more work for me. And I can't do any more work that I'm already doing. So if you're saying you want to get involved, never say never. You could always send us an email and resume, but I can't promise. We're looking for folks, when we can afford it, we're looking for folks that have some journalistic experience already. So.
Okay, we have donations from yesterday. $120 from Terry.
Terry, thank you, Terry.
Terry's a retired UAW worker. Respect the work of Status Coup.
Thank you, Terry. Since you retired, please tell Sean Fain to stop ignoring me and do an interview. Because Mr. Fain, I covered the strikes nonstop for 3 weeks. But apparently, since then, it's, he's gone to bigger ventures, going on CNN and Rachel Maddow. I'm not knocking it. But don't forget those little guys who were on the picket lines, elevating the UAW. So I'm hoping Sean can do an interview soon.
$5 from Margarita. Best on the ground reporting.
I can tell you, Margarita, you don't know how bad I need a margarita. I would like a strawberry margarita, or I do like the jalapeno infused margaritas. I need a few of those. Anyway, go ahead.
Best on the ground reporting by interviewing ordinary people, ordinary citizens.
What do you know? Isn't that a radical concept? Let me give you a little behind the scenes thing here. This isn't to shit on him. So when I started at, thank you for the super chat. When I started at TYT, and sorry if we're dark, it's dark out now. When I started at TYT, it was December 2015, and Jank called me and asked me if I wanted to go cover the debate between Bernie and Hillary Clinton in New Hampshire the next day. I had a job at that time, so I was going to have to play hooky for my job. And I said, what do you mean cover? And he said, well, you go and interview people that work on Hillary's campaign and people who work on Bernie's campaign, and you could interview other reporters. So basically he wanted me to go there and interview pundits and campaign staff. And I did none of that. I was like, you know what, fuck that. If I'm going, and I'm going to do it my way. So I interviewed Bernie supporters outside. I interviewed Hillary people outside. I remember I interviewed that day a Vietnam vet. And I'll never forget it. He just said, I'm just sick and tired of the bullshit. These bullshit politicians have been lying to us for years. And I knew from that day, I'm not interested in going around interviewing pundits or people that work for campaigns or experts. I'm going to talk to regular people. And it's not a radical concept. It's pretty simple, actually. And the rest of the media should try it sometime. But that's always what we've been about. So, and we'll keep doing it as long as you help us keep the lights on.
And last one, $15 from Antoinette. Thank you.
Antoinette? Antoinette. Thank you very much, Antoinette. Let me make sure I didn't miss. Oh, we got another one. Can you read this?
Yeah, we got Teresa 273, $20. Status Coup gives me hope for journalism the way it should be. Thank you, Status Coup.
Thank you, Teresa. $20. Listen, we've had a lot of false hope over these years, haven't we? Obama's fairy dust, hope and change. That was more like hope and chump change, if you ask me. We got a lot of bumper stickers of hope, but as the great Tim Robbins once said in Shawshank Redemption, hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. Please, John, tell me you've seen Shawshank Redemption. Okay, so you know what I'm referring to. Well, Morgan Freeman says hope is a dangerous thing. Hope could drive a man insane. So Tim Robbins later, I don't want to ruin the movie, but Tim Robbins later in a letter to Morgan's character says, remember, Red, hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. We need hope. It might just be hope. If we don't have hope, then what's the point of us doing all this? We're doing this to try and make things better, even if it's just for a few people. If all I could do in my career, if the only thing I ever accomplish is to get Deanne in Kalamazoo out of that house, away from that plant, then I would consider myself to have a very successful career. Even if I can get that one thing to happen, or if I could get just some justice for the folks of East Palestine. And it's going to take more.
What's that? Are we live?
All right, folks. I was really saying some super profound shit, and then we went out for God knows how long. We were going to wrap soon anyway. We're driving through parts of Pennsylvania that the connection's terrible, so that's why we keep going in and out. But I guess what I was saying was, if all that I accomplish in this career is to get some people that are sick and poisoned by corporate America and the government, help them leave their communities, help them relocate, then I'll consider it a very successful career. If that's the one thing I could do. If all I could do is bring even a couple crumbs of justice to people in Flint or East Palestine or Kalamazoo or anywhere, then you know what? I will go to the grave knowing I did something in this world. It doesn't matter to me about, winning awards or becoming a millionaire or, becoming the next classic journalist. None of that stuff matters, because usually the people that are considered good journalists are a bunch of fucking phony baloney propagandists anyway. I just want to help people. And, none of this stuff, as I was saying before it cut out, this stuff might not happen in my lifetime. We might. The only success we might have is just getting the stories out there. And we might not put anyone in jail. We might not be able to get people moved. I hope. But I think that, we are a moment in time. What we're doing is a moment in time. And I think the kind of journalism we're doing hopefully ends up passing the baton to whoever comes next. And if we're not if we can't put those